Good morning, fam, or whenever this video is finding you. I hope you are so well. I woke up with a fire lit under me today in such a beautiful way, and I have so much to talk about, so this is probably gonna be one of many videos that I make today, but the first one that came to mind, it's just like a plethora of topics. They're just like swirling above my head right now. I'm curious if anyone else has ever been this way, because it feels like the energy, I'm curious if the moon moved from Leo into Virgo yet, because it just feels like there's been this clarity and this awakening of more like a remembering, I should say, of a path that I've forgotten about in a way. And I say all this because there's been so much clarity that's come in over the past couple of days. And I, drum roll, gave myself my first tattoo yesterday. And this is something that has been, I feel like it's been brewing under the surface for a long time. And I want to talk about the process, but I also want to talk about and reference back to my creativity video or episode, if you will, that I put on here about a week or two ago, and how much my creativity has bloomed and blossomed and shifted since that video, since I've pulled back my energy, since I've allowed this light to just pour through me without having any attachment to it. And it's funny, as I started this video, I was like, where is this going? We're gonna try and weave it together. This might end up being a two-part video, but I tattooed a little anchor on my heel yesterday. And it's funny because if you know me, I am the queen of detachment. And I really have practiced this. It's been a part of my life over the past, we'll say 5 years since my divorce. And really being able to detach from people, places, and things, material objects, thoughts, patterns, you name it, I have detached from it. And it has been an ever-evolving lesson in getting me to where I am now. And there has been so many things just evolving over the last couple of weeks since I have pulled back my energy, since I've been kind of in this hermit isolation mode. And this would have probably sent me in a spiral in the past, more so because I couldn't stand to be alone. And I was so attached to people, places, and things. And I don't want to say that they weren't serving me, because everything has a time and a place. But if you are finding yourself where you are grasping onto things that just don't serve you any longer, this is your invitation to detach and to give yourself whatever you need that external thing has been giving you, because really that is just a projection of you to fulfill a space within you, per se, right? So if you're expecting a friend or a partner or someone to give you something, it's an invitation to give that to yourself. And rounding this all back, so I have been practicing detachment and really kind of in this isolation mode, is the best way that I can say it. It's not complete solitude. I'm not completely alone, but I have pulled back all my energy. I'm like barely texting anybody. I've barely gone out. I really have just been in this, really embracing this winter in the Northern Hemisphere. And instead of getting upset at it, like, why isn't anything happening? Why isn't anything moving forward? I'm like, how is this serving me? How can I benefit from this? How can I use this to the best of my ability right now? Because this is where I am clearly for a reason. And I know I'm not the only one that's in a huge transition phase right now. And I can feel the momentum that has been brewing. And what's interesting is I've had so much clarity on my creativity. And in fact, the other night I set my intention before I went to sleep. And I said, I would really love for clarity around my creativity. And in my dream, I didn't remember everything. And it's interesting because it was layered in terms of what it was meant for. Because I truly forgot about my intention until after I woke up, and then I was like, huh. Because in my dream, a friend of mine had tattooed 3 different tattoos on me. And what's interesting is these tattoos were in places where I already have tattoos. And so I don't really have any empty real estate, if you will. And so, yes, it was about the tattoos. Yes, it was about like trusting in this new version of me, because both of them were, it was intuitive symbols that were drawn on my forearms. And then I had a wolf that was tattooed on my neck. And the wolf really stuck out to me, more so because it was all about intuition. It was all about being able to trust what I can't see, and also just trusting that universe, spirit, God, whatever you want to call it, has my back, and that my masculine side of me has my back. And it was, again, just layered. And the other one was a unalome, and that was on my left wrist, I believe, and it was tied in with several other symbols. But unalome is a symbol for the path to enlightenment. And it's so interesting because your left side is feminine, receiving, right? And it felt like I was very enlightened throughout this dream process. And I woke up and I sat with that, and I was like, huh, where did those tattoos come from, right? Not so much, yes, about the meaning of the tattoo, but then it clicked, and I was like, oh my God. And I had just seen a video within 24 hours of this where someone was talking about something that had come up in the last 3 to 4 days is a huge opportunity for you, and it's going to come back around. And you'll know when it comes back around. And what's interesting is I have been getting tattoos because my friend is learning to tattoo. And so I have been an open canvas for her, which has been a beautiful process because I have basically become a walking affirmation with all of my tattoos that I've gotten recently. And all of a sudden, it was like this spark. And I wasn't attached to it, but I could see it. And I was like, whoa, I have truly never admitted out loud that I have been obsessed with tattoos my entire life, that I absolutely love art, and that I have had this underlying deep desire to tattoo my entire life. I've projected or pawned it off on other people saying that they could do it. I could never do that. No way. I could never do that. And I can proudly say that yesterday I did my first tattoo, and I did it on myself, and it came out beautiful. And it's a little anchor on the inside of my left foot. And really the process to getting here was so interesting because throughout the day I was just continuously reminded of how many times I've poked myself with needles, how many times I've poked others with needles. Not only when I had my Crohn's, obviously I was like giving myself shots, so like I am not immune to giving shots or, you know, needles, if you will. I've been around needles majority of my life, and I've really gotten over that aspect, if you will. Like that doesn't bother me anymore. I'm also covered in tattoos, so like, but there's something slightly different about putting a needle into someone else versus putting a needle in yourself. And it's almost it's a different kind of ceremony, if you will. And so I was just reminded of not only like me having to give myself shots, me being a nurse and having to give others shots, and how I gave a lot of, or I put a lot of needles in people, especially as an ER nurse, right? I'm doing IVs, I'm doing IM shots and all the things. And I just remember majority of times where I would go to give a intramuscular shot, like a flu shot or whatever, and I'd get done and people would be like, whoa, like, you're done? I'm like, yeah. They're like, I barely even felt that. I'm like, huh. There's something to that, right? And my friend and I have been talking about a lot about the nervous system and anxiety, and how if you are not in a grounded place, likely tattoos are probably going to hurt more because your nerves are firing on all cylinders. And something that I not just pride myself in, but just something that I've also been told is that my energy creates this safety, this safe container for others to kind of just drop in. And tattoos are a big ceremony, really. It's a permanent initiation onto the body. And it's something that you're not necessarily detached from, right? Because it's imprinted on your body. So it's this beautiful back and forth. But I had all these moments come up yesterday where I was like, wow, I've actually been preparing for this my entire life. And again, no attachment to it. Like, I was thinking back to just being obsessed with art and creativity as a kid, and I always wanted temporary tattoos. And anytime we went to a fair or an amusement park, I was like, I want an airbrush tattoo. Like, I always wanted art on my body. And I also love that I'm able to share my creativity through art and all these different things, and forgetting how creative I was even into my high school years, and just various different creative endeavors. And yesterday I felt like I was anchoring into a old version of me in a way. And I realized that, you know, in talking with a friend this week, that I put my creativity on the back burner, kind of lost my creative spark during my marriage, and how much that really affected me. I lost a lot of myself in my marriage, and I look back and I'm so proud of that version of me for continuing to go on, even how out of place she felt. And I'm not attached to this in a way where I feel like I have to make money off of it. I am excited to tattoo other people, but it was more about doing this for me, and doing this for a younger version of me who thought that she couldn't do it, and turns out I can. I know I only did one, but it felt like jumping back in the driver's seat in a way. And again, just like totally detached from the outcome. But what's wild is I have this very intuitive eye, and so I am able to see things on the body. I'm able to see things that aren't necessarily there. If you resonate with being a projector, or just having a really intuitive view, if you will, from your third eye, you might resonate with that. And I could just see this anchor on the left side of my ankle, and it's on the inside of my ankle too, which is all about feminine and receiving and foundation and movement forward. So it's just interesting, especially when you're looking at tattoo placements, like what that means. And as I'm saying this, there's like so many things that are unfolding in my head, because I think it's so beautiful to know what someone is going through, why they're getting a tattoo, and why they see it where they see it. Like, there is a spiritual meaning, if you will, behind every single tattoo, whether you're aware of it or not. I was not tapped in when I first started getting tattoos, and it's funny to go back and look at all of the meanings of the placement and what I was going through. That is the initiation. You are permanently imprinting the story behind whatever you're going through onto your body, into your cells, into your skin. Our skin is our one of the largest organs that we have. And I think that's pretty fucking cool. And yeah, so I'm not attached to the outcome of all of this. I'm playing around and having fun with it. In fact, I'm probably gonna tattoo myself again today, just to practice. And it's so funny because I normally would put so much pressure on myself, and I'm noticing my edges with this, and also just how imperfectly perfect tattoos actually can be, that they don't have to be absolutely perfect, because we're not perfect as humans. So why would we expect something that's on us to be perfect? So yeah, I am really excited about all this, and I hope it inspires you and encourages you to do the thing that you say that you can't do, because that story played out for so long for me, and I let it run my world for way too long, and that's not really why I'm here. I'm here to overcome those stories, those patterns, those beliefs, because they're actually not mine. They're actually not mine. And so, yeah, I'm excited for this endeavor. Again, I hope this inspires you to create, whether it's to draw, to paint, to tattoo, to whatever it is. Because honestly, this opportunity fell into my lap. And I think that's the other beautiful thing, is that when you are aligned with something that is meant for your soul, it'll just fall into your lap. And sometimes it'll fall right in front of you and you won't even recognize it. So it's a perspective shift, which was one of the tattoos I got recently. Just to zoom out, see things differently, know that everything will align for you and you don't have to work. I didn't have to work. This literally was just like presented in front of me. Everything I needed was right there. And I'm excited for whatever this turns into. Crystal and I have talked about doing pop-ups. So if you're somewhere either in California or anywhere else, like we've talked about doing pop-ups and doing like flash tattoos and things like that, but taking this traveling, because I know it's not meant to be just here in Oceanside, California, but I'm really, really excited and just totally, utterly detached from it all. And I hope this also inspires you to detach from the things that you rely so heavily on, because there's so much freedom in that. And you'll be surprised at how much pours through you when you detach from the things that are no longer serving you. So I will see you on the next one, fam. I'm sending you so much love.